Okay, it's 6 o'clock and we're going to start. 6:30 and we're going to start. I can tell time. Good evening. My name is Jane Arnson Schumacher and I'm the moderator for tonight's forum on behalf of the program or the forum sponsors, which are the League of Women Voters of Bozeman and the Belgrade, I just did Belgrade, the Bozeman Public Library. And so I want to do some quick thank yous before we get too further on. Standing in the doorway back there is Ben Nielsen in the red t-shirt. Ben represents the library on the planning committee. Also, we have in the front row here, Noelle and Beth. And Beth has to stand up though. I especially want to thank Beth because Beth does all the real work. Beth does all the letters, all the arrangements, everything. So Beth gets a special thank you because we just show up. She does all the work. So thank you, Beth. And I also want to thank Dennis, who is our security. Thank you, Dennis. And Bob. Our Bob is from KGVM. I always say that wrong. KGVM. And he is recording this tonight. And you could access the forum tonight and the one from last night on their website. In addition, Ben is going to put a recording with audio and visual, right? If it works. All right. If it works, it'll be on the library website. So if you want to see it or if you know of someone who wanted to come and missed it, please let them know that it is being recorded. Also, I have two announcements. One is Vote 411. You see several people wearing Vote 411 t-shirts. That is the League of Women Voter Guide. I don't know if you remember, we used to do a print one and then put it in the Chronicle. We don't do that anymore. We simply do it online. It's much more convenient. And so all you have to do is go to Vote 411, put in your address, and you can find the candidates that you will be voting for. If you live in Belgrade, it will give you the Belgrade ballot. If you live in Bozeman or anywhere else in the state, if you put in your address, it'll simply give you your information that is on your ballot. So Vote 411. The other one is I just want to let people know that on October 20th, the League of Women Voters is sponsoring another evening event, and that will be presented by the Upper 7 law firm out of Helena, and they are going to do a program on the Montana Constitution. We have a lovely constitution in Montana that we should be proud of. So this program highlights what a constitutional democracy is, the rule of law, and the ways in which the Montana Constitution is special and distinct from other state constitutions. And so if you're available, please attend that presentation. Tonight we will have two back-to-back forums. From 6:30 to 7:10, we will have the mayoral candidates. And then from 7:15, we'll take a really short break just to switch out individuals. From 7:15 to 7:55, we will have the ward ballot initiative presentation. And ward, I hope it says in here, oh good, water adequacy for residential development, and the acronym is WARD. And it will be the creator of the initiative, and then SWMBIA as opposition. So that'll follow immediately this one. And also, one of the things I'm required to do is go over the rules and format for the forum. So for tonight's forum, each candidate will have they can do whatever, shorter if they like, up to 2 minutes to introduce themselves and explain their qualifications and why they'd like to be elected. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer one question that has been provided in advance by the League. I will then open the floor to questions from the audience. Please stand when your question is asked because people behind you, it's hard to hear those. You don't have a mic. And people want to know the question before they hear the answer. Please stand. Questions may be directed at one or all the candidates. However, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer the question, whether they are identifying the question or not. They don't have to, but they do have the opportunity to also answer the question. Answers by candidates will be limited to 2 minutes. And then each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The moderator will intervene if questions or answers are repetitive or if courtesy is not shown. You know, it takes courage to run for a public office. And we are lucky that we have these candidates. And they deserve our courtesy, whether we agree with them or their stances or not. So courtesy must be shown. Tonight is not a time for our audience to voice their views or try to convince candidates to change their views. These forums have been set up as an opportunity for you to hear from the candidates before you vote. And so this night is their night. It is important to note, I already said that courtesy, no sneering, no snickering, no booing from the audience. If a candidate is mentioned by name or referred to specifically by their own opponent and their answer, that candidate will have a chance to respond. If questions from the audience can be answered with a yes or no, the candidates will still be allowed those 2 minutes to qualify or explain the answer. The forum is meant to help voters become familiar with the positions of the candidates, not to force candidates to select answers that they don't feel comfortable about. Again, the moderator will intervene if questions are repetitive or if courtesy is not shown. We have 3 candidates for the position of mayor, lucky us, Douglas Fisher, John Meyer, and Brendan O'Connor. They will each now have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. And did I say Noel is our timer? And so candidates need to pay attention and do that. All right. And we'll start with Mr. Fisher.
Well, thank you. Really, it's an honor to have so many of you here and engaged. And I think we can all agree that Bozeman is a special place. I certainly love it here. It's why my wife and I raised our 2 kids here. And I think we'd also, what we agree is that specialness does not exist by accident, and it's fragile. And you need effective leadership to nurture that, to protect it as Bozeman grows. That's why I'm running for mayor. As I'm out there knocking on doors, as I've been serving in this community, I hear 3 repeated concerns. The first is affordability. Affordability of course, includes the price of housing, but it also includes jobs. It's that when students that are in Bozeman schools or MSU aren't priced out of this marketplace because they can't find a job. And it's also taxes, so that seniors and those of us on fixed incomes aren't priced out of their homes or neighborhoods by rising taxes. The second thing I hear often is safety, that it's about safe routes to school. It's about feeling safe in our neighborhoods and our public spaces downtown at night. It's getting our traffic laws enforced. The third thing is community. As we grow, we want places where we can live and work and play and gather. And those 3 things, I mean, I've been a journalist now for almost 30 years. I've been on the school board where I learned how to build consensus around tough issues. And and that's what I love doing. That is the kind of common sense, results-based leadership that I hope to bring with you, that is grounded in Bozeman, focused on facts, working to bring us together in a solution that represents all of us.
John Meyer will be next to introduce himself. And can I say, if you guys, I'm going to interrupt, sorry. If you guys have trouble hearing in the back, the candidates, will you just wave or something, let us know, and we will have them stand. And often they just have to pick up their mics. But if you have trouble hearing the back, please, wait, are you having trouble?
No, if they could stand, last night I was in the back and we couldn't see them, and I think it's important for them to stand.
Are you guys all comfortable standing?
Yeah.
All right, they kindly have agreed, so we will start standing when they respond. You need your mic, though, you need to kind of hold that.
Can you hear me in the back? My name is John Meyer. I'm running for mayor of Bozeman because I love our town, and I also want to take us in a new direction. It doesn't feel like things are sustainable. I've watched for the last 15 years as my friends have left Bozeman because they can't afford to live here. They can't find jobs here. It's just heartbreaking to hear friends who say we can't afford to live here anymore. And so I have twin boys who are 6 years old. They go to kindergarten here at Bozeman Public School, and I want them to be able to enjoy our town as well. Some people might know me as the attorney that got arrested for walking up the Gallatin River into the Yellowstone Club. I do much more than that. I was the attorney that wrote the Bozeman Plastics Initiative, and that passed by 63% in the last election. Next year, there's a jury trial to decide whether that initiative is going to go into effect. I've stopped a $550 million coal railroad from being built in southeast Montana. They wanted to take ranchers' land to build this coal railroad, and we stopped that. I've protected a lot of water in Montana for several years. I've dedicated my entire life to protecting the public interest, and I would love to see our town grow, but in a really smart way. Because right now it doesn't feel like what we're doing is sustainable. It doesn't feel smart. It feels like we're watching as our friends get priced out of Bozeman, as houses get scraped, new huge skyscrapers are being built, and we're subsidizing luxury development. And so I'm here to take us in a new direction. Thank you.
And our third candidate will do his opening statement, and that is Brendan O'Connor.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks to everyone who showed up tonight. My name is Brendan O'Connor. I was born and raised here in Bozeman, and I'm a night shift custodian at Montana State University, and I run a small cleaning business in the morning, so I'm a very busy person. And like a lot of people in Bozeman, that's what I have to do just to make ends meet here. And for most of my adult life, it's been that way. Working 2 jobs just to be able to pay all my bills and stay here. Unlike so many of my friends who I've seen get priced out and move to other cities across the state or even leave the state entirely. I'm running for mayor because I think we need leadership that's practical and has the firsthand experience of the struggles that so many of us in Bozeman are facing in terms of affordability, public safety, as well as preserving neighborhood character. We need Bozeman to move in a direction that's thoughtful about growth. And, we shouldn't slow growth, but we shouldn't supercharge it either. We need to preserve the character of our neighborhoods, and we need to stop using city tools to prop up shiny new condo developments and instead make sure that development is serving the needs of the working people, the frontline workers, the people who keep this city running every day by just showing up. But that's why I'm running for mayor, and I thank everyone for coming tonight and being an informed and engaged voter. Thank you.
Okay, the league did present a question to the candidates in advance. That question is, what is your plan for managing growth in the next 4 years? So it's a general question. Anyway, we will start with that question. And I don't want to have them go in the same order, so we're going to start with John this time.
So the question is, how do we manage growth for the next 4 years? Does everyone agree that the way we're growing right now is not sustainable? Does everyone like the way we're growing now? No. I hear this all the time. It's out of control. It's supercharged growth. It's not good for us. And so can we all agree that for a long time, the city of Bozeman has been telling the public we're running out of water? Yep. And can we also agree that the city has been talking about building a pipeline to Canyon Ferry to continue growth? Okay. So is it fair for citizens to allocate and decide how we're going to allocate our finite water resource. Is that fair? Okay, so I worked with a group of citizens for over a year to put together the Water Adequacy and Residential Development Ballot Initiative. That initiative is going to require 1/3 of all new development, 3 units or more, to actually be affordable. So this is how we slow down some of the luxury development and subsidize some of the affordable housing. Now, I hear people say, how are we going to afford this? Who's going to pay for this? And there's a few different ways that we can make this happen. In terms of the rental units, we can create a public housing authority. Bozeman is the only city in the state of Montana that doesn't have a public housing authority. A public housing authority can create a revenue bond. That revenue bond then starts building public housing. So we can actually, the city of Bozeman can create public housing. And that's going to create new affordable units for people who actually work here. If you work in Bozeman, you should be able to live here. The city of Vienna, Austria, has more than 25% of the units in Vienna are actually owned by the city proper. So this is not a new idea. It's something we can implement moving forward. The Bozeman Daily Chronicle today had an article about the Ward Initiative. I'm quoting it about how we can go forward with this in terms of the for sale properties as well. So that's the next 4 years of how we're going to move forward.
Okay, next we'll go to Douglas Fisher.
So I certainly agree that growth is the biggest issue facing Bozeman. We know that growth is going to continue for the same reason it has for decades. Can we do a better job managing it? Absolutely. I do want to clarify kind of 3 misperceptions that I often hear out there. The first is that, Bozeman we are using 42% of the water that we have access to. Do we need to, are we in a crisis mode? No, we're not. Do we need to be concerned? Absolutely. And we need to be planning for that. The second is that we are conserving water like crazy in Bozeman. And that's thanks to all of you guys. We have added 14,000 new residents to this town in the past 10 years. We haven't used an extra gallon of water total. That's because we're conserving. And we have rules on the books that have changed how we water and how we use water. The third thing is that we have, and this is good news, I would say, we have 1,800 price-capped workforce housing in the pipeline coming forward that we'll see in the next 3 years. So my belief, I think all 3 of us, frankly, agree that if you work in Bozeman, you deserve to live here. And the question is, how do we do that? How do we grow without changing the characters of Bozeman? And so it is kind of it's an all-in approach that as we build, as we grow, we need to be building communities where you can live and work and play and gather. We need to be working with our community partners, MSU, Bozeman School District, the Bozeman Hospital, our trusted community land trust to bring in a range of housing, starter homes. I think we've done a really good job in apartments. We need more starter homes. It's kind of a results-based, effective leadership that uses a bunch of tools that are in our toolbox to bring out housing that works for all of us and works for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're ready for questions from the audience. Oh, did you hear? I crossed you out without letting you speak. Not my first time doing that.
So when it comes to growth, my position is that growth is not the enemy, but the problem is poorly managed growth. We need to make sure that the tools the city uses for growth are aligned with our needs. For example, we've seen tax increment financing used to prop up new luxury condo developments that are not affordable for a majority of the people living in Bozeman. And that's an example of poorly managed growth. The recent approval of the boutique hotel that violates the creek setback and eliminates off-street and on-street parking downtown. We need to grow smarter and not faster. And, that means supporting more infill development, more mixed-use development near where people, where they work, where they study, where they shop, so that we rely less on driving, so we can cut down on the increasing traffic congestion. And finally, when it comes to growth, the process needs to be transparent and open for participation. We see so many projects being approved kind of, in the back room where the public doesn't get much opportunity to engage and put their input on these new developments. And, I think those are just the three major things we need to focus on. And at the end of the day, we need to be thoughtful about how we grow and allow the community to participate and express their voice on these decisions.
Thank you. All right, now we will do the first question from the audience. The woman in the middle, I should know your name, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Marcy Young.
Marcy.
And I am querying the candidates, if anybody happens to know, I live at Bozeman Co-housing, and we voluntarily did 2 units of affordable housing as residents. We were told by the city that there was a water shortage that would have us out of water by 2030. We had that presentation presented to us by Jessica, and we can no longer find that presentation. And last night I was at the Sustainability Board, and there was members of the Sustainability Board asking, where are those presentations for historical reference, so that we can understand why we were running out of water, and why now all of a sudden we aren't running out of water.
Okay, and this time, we're going to start with Brendan.
So just to clarify your question, you were given a presentation that is no longer available?
By the city.
By the city. Well, since I'm not involved with the city, I'm not sure how to answer that other than that's unacceptable. Anything that the city puts out should not be quietly erased without an explanation. And that's exactly the kind of mismanagement that I feel I've witnessed with the city as well. And we need leadership that is not going to let that happen, because it's unacceptable to the people of Bozeman, to the voters, to have the record rewritten after the fact and to be disingenuous about issues like water and affordable housing. So while I can't give an answer as to why that has disappeared, that is unacceptable, and I hope that someone up here can give you a straightforward answer on that.
Thank you. And now we'll go to John.
I remember that presentation as well, because that was Jessica Alstrom, and she was talking about the cash in lieu water rights policy and how that's a big important piece of our conservation as the city of Bozeman. And now that's gone. And it feels like I'm suffering whiplash as well, because for years, Bozeman's been telling us, water your lawns less, water your lawns less, we're running out of water. And then they take all the water we saved and build luxury housing. It's just, it doesn't serve Bozeman. And so I completely agree that we need more transparency. And on the topic of transparency, Tuesday night, I offered commission comments because the city of Bozeman voted to settle a lawsuit. Developers sued the city. And those same developers donated money to Douglas's campaign. And he didn't disclose that. And he voted to settle the case. And so it just feels like we're kind of at the beck and call of developers in Bozeman, and that's what I'm here to do, to change direction, to say, hey, we're not owned by developers. We can control our growth and our destiny.
And Douglas, you have an opportunity just to respond to that, and then it'll be your turn. So,
Wait, the rules, to respond to the allegation of the
he brought you up
Sure.
in his response. You have an opportunity to respond.
just respond to that, and then also to the water?
Yeah. So,
Okay, sure.
unfortunately, it's your
Oh.
turn plus that.
Is there a time for a response?
1 minute.
I'll be certainly quick. I'm really proud of my donors who support the campaign. It's a wide range of Bozeman. And yes, I have some developers here. I live in a house that was developed. I love going to Aleworks. That was developed. But I have teachers, I have doctors, I have retirees, I have landscapers, and so it's a wide range, and I'm proud of it. It's all on the state record, and I'll just leave it at that. For the water. For the water, super quick. So I have, making predictions is really difficult. And we have been making predictions about water. We know we live in a closed basin. There was one of my favorite pieces of paper that I have is a page out of our 1980 growth plan that says Bozeman is going to run out of water in 2020. And here we are, and our taps are actually still working. We're still watering lawns. So yes, it's an imprecise thing. We try to make predictions. What I will say is that we're not in a crisis mode, but we do need to be very much attentive to this. We need to be using a bunch of different tools, working with agriculture to make sure we're not forcing agriculture out of the valley. It's an important part of our heritage. We absolutely have to be working with irrigators and farmers, and it's a complex dance to find water and to make sure that we have the supply that we need, and that we are planning for the future, and that we're protecting our environment, making sure that we have water for our streams and our clear running water. That's what my kids love. That's, I think, why we love it here. So I can't speak to where that presentation is. I do know from the city produces a lot of documents. Sometimes just trying to find them is difficult, and we need to be absolutely clear on our work and making sure that we have public access to those documents. I would say, though, that we are, it's the reason we haven't grown, we haven't used any extra water, but yet we've added 14,000 people, is because we have been aware of the water and the scarcity and the need to be protective of it. And that has been working, and that's one of the things that I really admire about our work.
Thank you. Do you want to go? The guy.
Yeah, sure. I just kind of like to take a step back and ask you guys it's really easy to, in any political office, to speak to, like, we want better housing, we want, more affordability, a healthy ecosystem. I think we can all align on those values. What do you guys see as the actual capability of a mayor in the mayoral role, and what do you think is actually feasible within the office to accomplish your goals?
And this time we'll start with Douglas. You just get to stand up all the time lately.
Sure. So the mayor sets the agenda. The mayor sets the vision and the direction of this city, and it's an important role. And to me, that is about, my ethos is bringing people together, bringing people out of their corners. That is work that I saw happening at the school board. I spent 8 years representing most of you, I believe, on the school board. And it is hard work, but I think the mayor's job is to bring us together as a community, to make sure that all of our voices are in the center of the room as we make key decisions about our growth, about our community, about safety, and about transparency. And so that is that kind of culture of collaboration and consensus that I would like to bring, and I think you deserve from your mayor.
Thank you. Brendan.
Great question, because you're absolutely right. It's easy to stand up here and just make vague promises. But as far as affordability, I think there's a couple things that the mayor, working with the commission, can do. First, Bozeman needs a public housing authority. We're one of the only cities across the state that does not have one, and they've been shown to work in places all over the country. Second, I think it's time that we start tying our incentive tools to affordability, like tax increment financing. We should be requiring more affordable units, let's say 60 to 80% AMI for rentals, for example, for residential developments that are receiving TIF funding. And we should look at the existing affordable housing ordinance and see if there's any changes we can make to make that more effective. Other than that, whoever's elected should continue to reach out to the community for ideas on affordability, as well as work closely with the new commission.
I agree. It's really easy to talk the talk, but when it comes time to walk the walk, that's a different story. And so that's why I worked for over a year with Bozeman residents, to get this housing initiative on the ballot. And once that goes into effect, we're actually going to see new housing, which I think is a huge step forward for our town. It's a vision for us. I've been hearing we need vision, and this is what we want to do. We want to see 1/3 of all new development to be affordable. That's what I think. I think that the baker should live next to the doctor, live next to the nurse. That's true community. What I see now is a bunch of luxury housing and then a bunch of poor people who are about to go to jail for being criminals because they're living in their car because they can't afford luxury housing. That to me is not real community. We need to change that. I think we can change that by saying no more TIF money going to subsidize luxury housing. Douglas Fisher just approved $3.7 million for luxury housing, to subsidize luxury housing. 2 affordable units, $3.7 million. That was money that's taken from our general fund. That's, my kids go to Hawthorne Elementary. That's money that was taken from them so that we can subsidize luxury housing. It's crazy. We have to do something different. And I'm here to say I'm going to do something different because I don't like the direction we're going right now.
Get another minute?
Yeah?
Okay, so you cannot explain TIF funding in a minute, trust me. But what I can say is that I am interested in building community. And TIF funds are a way to use future tax revenue to kind of build out public infrastructure. There was some project on the north end of Bozeman. It's going to be putting in a new sewer line that's going to allow Tin Works to expand and add to its bathrooms and update when it wants to update. It will bring in sidewalks. It will bring in safer streets. Both that northern end of town is not going to be a lumberyard forever. We will need to be thinking forward to thinking of what our community looks like. I want a safe community where kids can get to school without riding through streets. And that was a way to leverage money without forcing us current taxpayers to pay for that. That was coming out of taxes that a development would generate and would bring in to the future. And we would then be, the developer was paying for that. And we would then, reimburse the developer.
Thank you. Go ahead. Yep. Sorry, I don't know anybody's name.
I'm a student at MSU, and I have a question specifically directed for the folks who are suggesting for a public housing authority. It's more of an economic question. Generally in economics, public housing is external from the private market, and so if we're not increasing the supply of private housing and we're not decreasing the demand, because the government can't force people not to live here, how do we expect anybody to increase the affordability of private housing here in Bozeman if we're not impacting the supply or the demand? I don't see a future where I can afford any private housing here. Thank you.
I don't know who's in favor, so we're just going to give you each a chance to answer the question.
Thank you for the question. So with the Public Housing Authority, they can create revenue bonds, create money, start building affordable housing. And that doesn't fall on the taxpayers. Those bonds start getting paid back when people start paying their monthly rent. So eventually, the city owns that housing. They actually own it. And then we start making money because we've paid off the bond and people are still paying rent, they're still living there, so we increase the money that we have available. And that's possible without a vote of the citizens. We can just say we're going to create a revenue bond through the Public Housing Authority. And that's really important for Bozeman to do because, again, we're the only city in Montana of our size that doesn't have that right now.
It is. No.
John touched on the Public Housing Authority part nicely, but to address the other part, we absolutely need to allow for the development of more private housing. And we don't need to strangle that and end it. But we can make some of that private housing more affordable by tying it to incentives. And we do need to focus on building more single-family homes and not just more, towering apartment buildings, because people like me, people like you are worried that we're never going to be able to actually own our own home and we're going to be trapped in a apartment with no yard for the rest of our lives here in Bozeman. So it's about balancing how we allow the private sector development to happen, as well as looking at alternatives like a public housing authority, or encouraging tenants to organize and have tenant-controlled housing. So it's just a balance of several different avenues when it comes to making sure that we have a diverse housing market.
So that was a complex question, and let me make sure I get it right. You are concerned that we're not looking at public housing and that we're forcing basically everyone into a private housing market?
No,
Is that-
the opposite. I think that, like, public housing, and I don't think John actually addressed my question at all, but I think public housing, it's external to the private market. We're not creating private entities, and so the market, if you look at the supply-demand graph, the supply of housing is not shifting at all because we're not creating private housing, and we can't control the demand because we're not a communist society, and so we're not decreasing the pricing of housing by creating public housing. We need to increase the supply.
Got it. So it's like, how do we get like basically a larger spectrum of housing into our
How do
market?
we decrease prices?
How do you, okay, decreasing prices is it's hard, but there are ways, right? First of all, I think we have put a lot of emphasis into building multifamily apartment buildings. You could argue we went a little too hard on density, a little too hard on big, tall apartment buildings. But the result is that look at where we were 4 or 5 years ago with almost a minuscule vacancy rate. Now it's closer to, I don't know where it is, but somewhere 20%, 15%. It's a renter's market. I think what we need to do is work with our partners to decrease the price. It's land, it's lumber, it's labor. Lending is another L. And we can take some of those land costs out by working with folks like MSU, Bozeman School District, Bozeman Health, that have land, surplus land, near their employment centers. We can, we need to make it easier in some ways to build the housing that we want in this town. And I would argue that we need more starter homes and more missing middle, so that when folks come out of these apartments, they have a place to, families have a place to put down roots. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to give John another opportunity to just try your question. 1 minute, though.
So right now, we don't have public housing. City of Bozeman doesn't own units. They're not renting units at the public. That's what a public housing authority could do. They could actually increase supply at an affordable rate for people. We do that with a revenue bond. The city of Bozeman actually starts building housing for people, and we create the starter homes. We create the low-cost rentals for people who need housing who work here. That's something that we don't have right now. What we have right now is a free market where it's super saturated with luxury development that no one can afford. 20% or something of the development since 2020 is luxury. It's sitting vacant, and meanwhile, people can't afford to live here. That's what we have now. That's trickle-down economics. I hear it all the time. We just need to build more. Let's build more. Let's build more. It doesn't work. They continue to build luxury housing, and no one can afford to live here still. We have to do something different, and that's where the Public Housing Authority comes into play.
I'm afraid we're out of time for questions. I apologize. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes to do their closing remarks. And I think we're going to start with Douglas.
We'll have to go to 1 minute because we have that other.
Yeah, we'll still go. We'll figure it out. Go ahead.
1 minute?
No, go 2.
Oh, am I up first?
I think so.
So I'll just kind of reiterate on my opening remarks, I suppose. As someone who was actually born here in Bozeman, and I was raised in a tiny apartment for all of my childhood. My parents are Federal Park Service employees who themselves struggled to make ends meet 20 years ago. I think we need leadership that really knows what the reality is on the ground and isn't just hearing talk from developers or whoever. Bummer that we ran out of time for questions. I'll be sticking around a little bit out in the hallway if anyone wants to come chat. And I've got some business cards in my pocket that I can give you you can go check out my website and my social media pages. But yeah, I want to thank everyone who came here today. There were some great questions. I'm glad we got to get into the specifics a little bit, and I look forward to talking to more of you voters after this is over.
And we're going to go to John. John.
It's me. I think that people are more important than developer profit. I think that everyone in this town believes that. And I think we need a change in direction. The status quo is not working. People are not happy. And when we all get together and we say, let's do something different, we can actually make a change. I honestly believe we can be the model city. We can say we're going to be sustainable. And I think we can actually do that. We have some of the smartest people in the world here. We have an amazing university. We have incredible access. People are always going to come to Bozeman. This is such an amazing place. And it's time to protect what we have. We need a mayor who is not taking developer money. We need a mayor who is getting scrap wood from Kenyon Noble for free and making yard signs. This is my commitment to Bozeman right here. This is my commitment to you. I believe that we can do things different, and I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
So I want to thank you again for taking time out of your evening to come here and be educated about this campaign. It's really important for the future of our city. I think common sense is key, that effective leadership is really important, that you want someone who is a bridge builder in that mayor's office. I think you want someone who has experience. I know how. I love to, believe it or not, get snow off of streets, plow snow. I love and I know how to expand our park system, to maintain our trails. I have cut $4 million out of a budget before for the school district. It was not easy, but it's important to realize that how do you balance essential services and a real concern by taxpayers of a tax burden. These are difficult questions. You want someone who knows how to get people into the center of the room to make sure that we're focused on putting the main thing as the main thing. And that is the work that I have learned to do over my nearly a decade of public service, and that I would like to bring forward as your mayor. I really believe I'm going to put the time and the energy, and I hope you can see this, to put the time and the energy to provide real solutions that represent the real and amazing diversity that is this town.
Thank you, our candidates.